Hey, it's the first episode of Two Fans, 12 Rings. I'm Jeff. This is Brad. Brad, how's it going, man?
Dude, it's good. Think about over the course of football starting. Some of our teams we felt up, some of us have felt downs. But the fact that we're back to feeling live football again, I mean, we're in it now. We're through week one. We got recap and we got projections. Everything's going up and down. Everybody gets to see their teams the first time. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a great weekend of football. Before we start talking a lot of football, because there's lots to talk about, this is episode one of our new project. This has been it's a rebranding. A lot of the repeat listeners that are coming on. First off, thank you for following us over to this platform. This is kind of a long time in the making. If you haven't listened to a previous episode where we kind of discussed this, we'll go briefly here. So Brad and I have been together since let's call it March or April of 2020, talking football, talking shop, real talk platform. And when Brad first joined up, I basically told him I'd be open to changing the name of this podcast someday. And over the summer, Brad pitched me an idea that I absolutely loved. I thought it had tons of value. I said I was ready to move forward with it as long as we had the startup idea, a picture and stuff like that. And here we are, Two Fans, 12 Rings. If you don't get the concept, Patriot fan, Brad's a Steeler fan. We just happen to root for the two teams that have won the most Super Bowls of any teams, 6-6, and that's 12. So here we are. Tell a little bit about the fan art, Brad.
Yeah, so the fan art, a good friend of mine, shout out Jesse Crouch. I get a hold of him. He makes a lot of our shirts for our volleyball tournaments, and he really likes getting creative on on the computer with that kind of stuff, which Jeff and I have no talent at whatsoever. We don't dabble in that kind of world at all. So I reached out to him, and he was super happy. And we were very happy to have his efforts to help the podcast, and we have no problem shouting him out. And we will look to use him many times when we look to get merchandise, shirts, hoodies, hats, wristbands, you name it. So, Jesse, man, if you're listening, thank you. And for anyone listening, we kind of tag him in some of the stuff that we have. So don't be afraid to reach out to him through some of our platforms. He might be willing to do something for you as well. He does some pretty good work. He's very good with his communication and his efforts, and he really enjoys it. So Jesse's been a huge help in this whole process in terms of us finding, the picture that represents what we're doing here the best.
Yeah, and with that being said, there are other opportunities for us to add to this podcast and make it another step above. That is what we're trying to do. That's the reason we changed the name. That's the reason we seeked out this specific person for this fan art. If you have an idea for an intro, or somebody that can make an intro and you could hook me up with that said person, I would be all ears, ready to listen. I thought that's one thing this podcast has always been missing, but unfortunately, again, I'm not artsy. I'm not big into beats and stuff like that. If somebody were to throw something together, it could be 15 seconds, whatever, I would be all ears, and I'm sure Brad would be too. Here's how you can find this podcast moving forward. So obviously, Real Talk is, for the time being, it's still going to be moving forward with the Michigan edition with Dan and I. We're working on changing up the name too, for that one to be more original and more direct towards a Michigan fan base than just a standard podcast name. But us over here, YouTube, you can find us at the number 2 fans, the number 12 rings. I didn't spell it out. I just used the numbers. It pops right up. I checked it myself. I'll have this podcast up on that platform. And then as far as just like Spotify, Apple Music, all your other platforms, that'll just be 2 fans, 12 rings. You spell it out. I'm going to be posting links to pretty much everywhere, and we'll try to get this puppy spread like wildfire. Anything else, Brad, before we start talking some actual football?
No, just if you're a first-time listener, you see Jeff has his Patriots gear on. If you stumble across this, it means you like sports, you're listening for sports. If you know what happened to the Steelers this weekend and know what happened to Texas this weekend, we do watch other sports. I mean, college football, soccer, hockey, a little bit of baseball, you name it, we dabble. We will have other podcasts that maybe hit on those sports from time to time, but we're mainly an NFL podcast here. So if you're looking for those other sports, it'll be few, far, and in between for the time being. We may expand on that later. Also, in terms of expanding the pod, if you know anybody that works at Twisted Tea, I'd love to get their phone number and holler at them.
Yeah, as much as we would love an intro, a sponsor would be dope. And our dream sponsor is Twisted Tea. That would be like top tier. That would be a tier 1 sponsor. But if you want us to sponsor Pamper Diapers, just hit us up. We'll get you a 30-second ad for a couple milli. No big deal.
If you have any idea how to help us out, we're more than willing to help you out by, peeping your project, whatever it is that adds to our podcast. We want to be able to add to you, shout you out, maybe get you some of our followers or subscribers to shoot around. We're just two fans with 12 rings talking sports about football, shooting the stuff. We don't research for 8 hours a day. This isn't our day job. We don't get paid. We just, again, we sit down and talk sports. And if you listen, we thank you for that.
That's it. First segment of the day. It's going to be two fans, 12 takes. Okay. So here we are. This is Brad's idea. I loved it. Brad, take one of the day. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers plays 4 snaps, man, in an absolute brutal injury, Achilles injury last night on Monday Night Football. Jets hype was unreal, Hard Knocks, everything. We I think we went 35 minutes in division breakdown talking the Jets. It was one of the longest segments we did on any team this year. Much deserving. Take it away, man.
The Jets, outside of Aaron Rodgers, really just kind of added Dalvin Cook. Kind of later in, and this team had 7 wins, and Aaron Rodgers was the difference of 7 to potentially 11 or 12. He was the difference. And you can't help but feel deflated after he leaves because they did get the win against the Bills. And congratulations, all-time pooper from Josh Allen there. But, man, it's just tough for football fans because, some teams maybe hate the Jets. Maybe you're in their division. Maybe just don't like it for some reason. But for me, the Jets have always been bad. So they've never been a team that I've really grown to hate. They just kind of exist. So it's kind of cool to see, in the past few years, we've seen Brady go to Tampa and you saw a new side of him. Or Matt Stafford go to the Rams and it was fun. And now you have, Russ, different story. But, Aaron Rodgers comes to New York and, man, he's at basketball games. He's out doing this. He's at the golfing events. And we're starting to I don't know, it was a different Aaron. And we all just got robbed of an experience, especially Aaron, but in Jets fans. But I just feel like we were robbed of an experience, and that kind of just sucked. But, season keeps going.
Yeah, I'm going to say something real quick because I feel like maybe you follow me on Twitter, maybe you follow me on Facebook and know my hatred for the Jets. And I laughed at the irony last night, not at Aaron's injury. I wasn't laughing, ha, 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 Aaron is hurt. I was laughing of course this would happen to the Jets. This is the most Jets thing ever. And obviously I found that funny. I hate the Jets. They're literally my most hated team. And as a Patriot fan, I've been hearing nonstop about how we're fourth place. Jets are better. Dolphins are better. Bills are better. And, as soon as Aaron goes down, I just instantly thought to myself, well, I don't think we're fourth place anymore. I didn't think we were fourth place to begin with, but now I definitely don't think we are. And as you alluded to, the Jets they're the 2022 Jets, but they added Dalvin Cook, and I'll throw Alan Lazard in there too.
Oh, yeah, some veteran receivers. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, but this Jets team it's back to being Zach Wilson, and take that with what it is. But ultimately, I had the Jets at 9 wins, I believe. Gun to my head right now, I'm probably regressing them roughly 2. But weirdly enough, one of their losses I was going to give them was against the Bills week 1, and they got that one. So maybe they're an 8-9 football team now. I do think they have to regress some wins. They just lost a Hall of Fame quarterback. So we'll see what the Jets end up being this year. I think it is a long-term storyline. I don't think it's a playoff team today. I didn't think they were a playoff team to begin with, but I thought there was potential there. So it's just a crazy situation the way it all played out, but here we are.
Just to kind of put a little cherry on top, Zach Wilson and these Jets now, and their next 5 games are at Cowboys, host Patriots, host Chiefs, at Broncos, host Eagles.
It's absolutely brutal.
Very brutal. Their bye week's week 7. We'll see if, Cam Newton or Matt Ryan, Nick Foles, Colin Kaepernick, we'll see if they explore something like that. But right now it's Zach Wilson. My take 1 is just kind of one of my positives, one that I felt good about. I predicted, we both do our predictions for the preseason. I predicted 14 playoff teams. They went 9-5 as a whole, but only 2 of those 5 losses were not to other teams inside the 14 playoff teams I predicted, and they were both divisional games. So Bills, Jets, Seahawks, Rams, both kind of big surprises. But I just thought that all the teams I predicted to kind of do well this year, most of them went out week 1, and they backed my prediction to do so. But yeah, I'll just keep that one pretty short and sweet because it kind of went in on Aaron Rodgers there.
Number 3. I'm going to toss this one at you. How you feeling about the Steelers this morning?
Okay, so my second take. So take 4 would have been also about the Steelers. Again, guys, just for those of you who are new, maybe some of you are following, but Jeff and I do next to zero prep work. We like to shock each other at this kind of thing, see what we get off the cuff. We don't have these planned. Yeah, so the Steelers offense, not only did they play maybe the best roster and best defense in the league, that's up for debate with a couple teams. But it turns out when they're not playing vanilla cover 2 and cover 3, things are a lot more difficult. I bought into the preseason, I think, a little bit too much on this offense, and I wanted to bypass. I'm not punting the season. It's week 1, and it's a non-conference opponent. We got time to figure it out. But Matt Canada, I heard this stat today. Matt Canada joined the Steelers in 2021 to take over the offense. The Steelers are the only team since then to never record 400 yards of offense in a single game. Every other team in the NFL has done it at least 3 times, and 9 teams have done it 10 or more times. The Steelers in the past 2 seasons, including yesterday going into our 3rd, have never gotten 400 yards of offense. It's stagnant, it's stale. The Steelers, only TJ Watt played. TJ Watt was the only Steeler to play. The defense had 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. TJ's stat line read 5 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He's a menace. I still think he can win Defensive Player of the Year. But you could make a case that the Steelers just played their most difficult opponent on their schedule week 1. But you can't ignore the fact that we got absolutely pushed around, beat up, bullied for 3.5 hours. We lost by 23 points, and only one team lost by more than that. Granted, it was 40 by the Giants. But if it wasn't for the Giants having that game on Sunday night, the Steelers would have been the only thing talked about outside of Aaron Rodgers with how bad their performance was. Still think we can bounce back. Just to put a little perspective on it, next week, if the Bengals beat the Ravens and the Steelers beat the Browns, we're number 1 in the AFC North. So, I mean, it's a long season. Only 5.8% of the season is complete at this point. Long way to go. But we lose Cam Hayward for upwards of 8 weeks and Deontay Johnson on the offense for probably 2 to 3. So we lost in a lot of ways, but there's time to recover. But, man, just got to take that one on the shins. That's a bad loss.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll talk a little bit here. I just think I had them as a 10-win team. I haven't changed a thing. I think this is what I thought they were. A team that would struggle to run the ball, a team that had Kenny Pickett, and he's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. I didn't see anything that was shocking. I will say this. I didn't expect you guys to lose by 3 scores at home. That was the only difference. Other than that, nothing else was kind of like It is week 1. I had Brock Purdy in my. I think I had him 10.
Yeah, you did.
In my QB rankings. I like him more and more every day. He can really play football. Yeah, Niners are really good.
Yeah, the only positive you could take away is, I mean, it's not the first part, but the Steelers didn't get a first down until the 2-minute warning in the first half. And they obviously didn't score in the second half. And we didn't lose like the Giants did.
Yeah.
Like, there was still a point in the third quarter where the Steelers, if they score, they're right back in it, so defense is going to be okay. The 49ers are, we'll talk about them a little bit more later, I think.
We will.
That was also take 4, so you can right back to you for take 5.
Well, I'm going to stray away from the NFL just for a quick second.
Sure.
Texas beat Bama. I thought, first off, I had Texas on the money line, partially because of Texas being slightly better than I think a lot of people think they are, and slightly because I just don't believe in the current state of Alabama. I think I was a little right on both of them, but Texas looked really good and really dominant. Opinions?
Yeah, Texas has 2 number 1 receivers, in Adai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy. I believe outside of Brock Bowers, we have the second best tight end in the nation. We're up there with Michigan and Penn State, in my belief, as the 3 best offensive lines. Quinn Ewers put it together, especially in that second half. We went down 16-13, and then the offense finally caught. I mean, they just went nuclear, scored 14 points in 8 seconds. But I don't think that truly surprised anybody that, Quinn Ewers, when this offense is on, could strike. But our defensive line went 6 deep and manhandled Alabama's offensive line the entire game. Granted, Alabama's quarterback is not a dual threat. He is a runner that sometimes has to throw. Their quarterback situation, let's go back to the NFL. Alabama's last 4 quarterbacks all started yesterday or Sunday in the NFL. So when you go from Jalen Hurts to Tua to Bryce Young and Mac Jones, it's tough when you fall off. It's the same thing. Everyone's like, well, what's going on with Ryan Day? Well, when you have Fields and then into Stroud, or is Dabo not a good coach? Oh, well, he had Deshaun Watson it's a quarterback-driven sport, guys. You got to have one. You got to have the quarterback. And I was really impressed that Texas, for the rest of the year, if they make this college football playoff, but for the rest of the regular season, we may have the better offensive and defensive line than every other opponent on our schedule. And that's very encouraging. And Texas ended up going into Tuscaloosa, winning by 10. Could have been a lot more. Left a lot of meat on that bone.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about how excited we are and how we're already planning Michigan, Texas, in Ann Arbor next September.
Might not have to wait.
We may not have to wait.
Might not have to wait.
That might be wild. Wild.
That's going to be, all my teams that I root for, so does my dad, except for Texas and Michigan. So that'll be an interesting clash of heads there. It should be fun.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go to take 6 here. I've had 1 positive, 1 negative. I'll go back to positive here for me specifically. I think I absolutely nailed the Vikings and low-key the Bucks here. I should have taken money line. I took the spread, but I just thought the Bucks would be a little bit better than people thought. I don't think they're world beaters after what I saw, but it was because of what I saw from the Vikings. I have this team regressing a lot. I said they would be able to throw the ball. They would get good fantasy points. You look at Jordan Addison, deep touchdown, couple catches. Jefferson had, 25 fantasy points in my PPR league. He was all over the place. Kirk Cousins was dotting it up through a couple picks, though. That'll happen. But this defense is lethargic. Their O-line's not very good, and they should be in for a hoot against the Eagles this Thursday night. But again, I thought, for me, recapping some of the predictions, I thought I was spot on with the Vikings, and it showed its head right away in week 1. This team can pass the ball, but they can't run and they can't play defense. And if Kirk throws picks, they can lose to anybody. Like, Kirk has to play a perfect game.
Brad, they gave up 20 points.
And lost.
They gave up 20 points.
To a bad team. How many wins you predict them?
I don't know, like 7 or 8?
No, the Bucks.
Yeah, like 7 or 8.
Okay. Was Baker in your top 16?
No.
Who's their running back?
Baker went 21 of 34. He only passed for 173 yards.
That's a bad team went in there and was able to beat the Vikings. The Vikings are a bad team. That's what the whole thing is about.
But here's the thing. You literally just said their offense would be good, their defense would be bad. They gave up 20 points. They gave up less than 300 total yards, 73 rush yards, less than 200 passing. I mean, they turned the ball over 3 times. They lost the game. They lost the game. The Bucs did not win that game. But the Vikings are a million times better than what they showed.
They were favored by a touchdown and lost.
Okay, what were the Bengals favored by?
I don't have the Bengals in the playoffs either. I was right on them too, huh?
Stop. Stop it right now. Listen, we're going to hit this back. The Vikings are not dog shit. They are not. 1,000. They almost had. They don't just shy of 400 yards of total offense. They couldn't run the ball, and that is one thing you said. Right. Losing Dalvin would matter. You were right on that. They ball controlled them. They passed it all they wanted. They had a bazillion first downs. Unfortunately, 3 turnovers. You won't win doing that.
Right. So dog shit's a bit extreme, but they won 13 games last year. I have no team regressing more than them. I have them at 7 and 10. I don't think they're just a wet paper napkin.
It's too low. But
where were they at in that game?
Minnesota. They had 17 points. They turned the ball over 3 times.
I know, but Tampa walked into Minnesota and beat them.
They turned the ball over 3 times. That's not going to be every week, Brad.
Why not?
What do you mean, why not?
Kirk Cousins, with this roster, feels the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's going to be trying to do too much.
All right. I don't think he has a 3 turnover game again.
All season.
No, not all season. Yeah, I don't think he does. Okay. He notoriously doesn't throw picks. He had 1 and 2 fumbles. I mean, it's just a tough look.
He doesn't notoriously throw picks because he has a running game, and now he doesn't.
All right.
Week to week, this was one of my takes. I was right. It looks like I'm right on the Vikings.
Best looking team in a week 1 loss. I'm between 2. I would listen to both of them. I'm curious on what your opinion is.
Best looking team in a loss. I think it's definitely, maybe I'm missing one, but I think it's between the Chargers and Patriots.
Yes, 100%.
That's where I'm going. You could maybe argue. The Chargers, I still have. We'll get to ratings later. I have the Chargers still higher, but I don't believe in their head coach, and Chargers are a mess. We'll get into them later.
Can I give you a stat on their head coach real quick? I just heard this today. In their last 2 games, they have taken the ball away 7 times. They have given the ball away 0 times.
Lost.
They lost both games.
Yeah, since Brandon Staley, defensive head coach, has taken over, no team has spent more on defense. And in his tenure, they're 29th in defensive scoring and 27th in total defense. They just scored 34 points at home and lost. Now, granted, the Dolphins, we'll get into them too. Special team we got here, I think. But the Patriots, Mac Jones threw for 316 yards on the Eagles. I mean, they looked really good. Unfortunately, they didn't get the win. I think did the Eagles get a defensive touchdown?
Early.
Yeah. So I think it was after the first quarter, the Patriots outscored them by almost 2 touchdowns. Couldn't get the win out, but I felt really good. I know you had them a little higher, but I loved looking at people who are like, Patriots are winning 4 or 5 games, put it down. And I'm like, they are a 7 to 10 win team, guys. Like, they're not dog. So I loved what I saw from the Patriots. They are clearly going to be a tough out. And I'm also a little worried about this Eagles team, but I think I would lock in my answer. I felt the best about the Patriots in a loss, and that's your team. So
Yeah, I just think like first off, I I have to accept some loss here because obviously I was tooting my horn that I thought for sure they were beating the Eagles. I thought it was a prime spot. And I there are such things as moral victories. In my opinion, a moral victory can't be proved until a couple weeks later. You have to see if the moral victory actually works. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, the New York Giants in 2007 had a moral victory against the Patriots. A couple weeks later, they beat them in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like moral victories are a thing. It makes me wonder because we outplayed the Eagles. If we don't give them the pick six to open the game up, and immediately upon getting the ball back after the pick six, fumble it and give it to them in our own territory, which they then scored again.
yeah,
There is a chance that New England controls that game and wins it. They dominated them defensively. New England's defense looked incredible. Their offensive pieces, the ones that I've been trying to chirp about, were all very good, including Kendrick Bourne, who was a freaking beast. Hunter Henry was great. Didn't see a ton of Gesicki. Juju was a non-factor. Ezekiel Elliott came in and played really good in sparing. He played 23% of the snaps and had very good production in his time. And Mac played the second best game I've ever seen him play against a good opponent. So I'm not including the Houston Texans or the Jets. I'm talking good opponents. How did he play? It was the second best game I've ever seen him play. So a lot to build on. Bill did this a lot of times last year, and I think this is going to probably still be a thing when you're playing really good quarterbacks. You have to be aggressive. And Bill has done that. He's been aggressive in these spots where he traditionally is not. But gosh darn it, if we just kick a couple of field goals when we should have, we would have won that game.
yeah.
And Bill felt that he had to be ultra aggressive to kind of keep pace with the Eagles and didn't really trust in his defense, even though the defense had played lights out. If he kicks a couple field goals, we win the game. End of story. We win 26-25, you know? I think we were 1 for 4 on fourth down. We just kept going for it on fourth down because that's where Bill felt we had to be. And it's just like, let's just kick a couple field goals and get out of here. But unfortunately, wasn't enough. New England played a really great game, and I feel great going into week 2. And I'm just going to say it's a must win. It's a must win.
Yeah, I don't think they were the best team that lost, but I think they had the best loss. Like that's kind of just I
get it. I get it.
Just for anybody who was confused, like there are better teams in my rankings that are 0-1, but the Patriots are the one team that lost where you're like, yeah, I think now they go. Like I think that was like now they go.
Yeah.
I'll go to my fourth one here, and I'll just toss it back to you with one word. Rams.
The only thing that I found shocking this weekend was the Rams-Seahawks game.
Gotta be number. It's not the only thing. Was gotta be number one.
No, I'm serious, Brad. It's the only thing I found shocking.
Okay.
There were things that I'm like, I've seen this playing out this way, or I could vision this, or this didn't shock me. Like I could have. No, I literally did not see any way the Rams blowing the Seahawks off the field. That was never a scenario that I could have dreamt of. And do you remember the last pod we did before the season?
Yeah,
we redid our rankings. I regressed them by 4. I took 4 wins away from them. I'm like, I'm selling this. I'm selling the stock. And the Rams, they didn't just play. They beat what I think is a very good football team. I think you like them too. Yeah. And they blew them off the field with literally
and Atwell
bums, like people we don't know. They're not bums, but you know what I mean.
They were until week 1. They were until
literally like these aren't people that we're talking about. These aren't people that like when your team signs you, I'm like, oh, we're winning the Super Bowl. We got Diggs. No, this isn't AJ Brown. This isn't Tyreek Hill. This is Tutu Atwell and Pakuda, whatever his name is.
We'll learn it by week 2, but I
will.
Know his last name's Nakua. I don't remember his first name though.
Honestly, it's wild. Stafford looked fantastic. The offensive line was probably the best it's looked in a couple of years. I'll throw it back to you on the Rams.
Yeah, it was just absolute masterclass by Sean McVay. Because we talk about how much they dominated the Seahawks. They were down 13-6 at half. Sean McVay, he grabbed that clipboard and he did something. And him and Matt Stafford went to work that second half. I mean, quick math here. They beat them 24-0 in the second half. In Seattle. In Seattle.
Did you hear how many yards they had in the second half?
A lot.
No. Seattle only had 12 yards in the second half.
I meant the Rams.
Sorry. Seattle. And the Rams, their shortest drive in the second half was 9 plays. They ran 4 drives. All of them were 9 or longer. You're not going to get the ball back if the other team's holding it for freaking 9 plays.
Yeah. Matt Stafford to go for 334 was, I did not see that in the cards. And I put a little something extra on the Seahawks money line. It would have been one of my 5 locks of the week had we done that last week. Going forward, we'll definitely be starting to do that. But, yeah, crazy shocker. What's take 9?
My week 1 MVP, I'll let you say yours too.
It's the same as yours.
It's Tyreek Hill.
It's Tyreek Hill. It's Tyreek Hill.
We both said he would lead the league in receiving this year.
I'm cashing out.
I'm cashing. Tyreek Hill is
on pace for 3K. and then it's like, why don't they roll coverage? But Jalen Waddle ran a 3.440 as well. Like, you can't.
And not to take another shot at Brandon Staley. I'm sorry. I watched J.C. Jackson play in New England for several years. J.C. Jackson is a good corner. He is not a man-to-man lockdown corner. He is a roaming ball hawk corner. You cannot press Tyreek Hill with J.C. Jackson. I'm literally watching this. I'm like, what are you doing?
Dude, that was a free touchdown. That first one where he just snapped it and looked right, and he just beat him off the line. And it's like in Madden, when you hold the trigger and you zoom over and you can see the differences in speed. It's like 99 to 80. Like he's so. The NFL is athletes who work on their bodies every day of their life to be the best at what they do. And none of them can keep up with this guy. He's just faster than everybody else. He's just faster. He's nothing new, and he runs good routes. Yeah. And he catches everything. And I mean, it is official. The only thing that can stop Tua is injury. He's so good.
He is good.
Tua is really good. That last deep throw where he ran up in the pocket while he's running, throws it down. The corner throw right to Tyreek over, oh man, they are such a fun team to watch, and they did it without maybe their best corner in Jalen Ramsey, and without their best offensive lineman Teron Armstead. So their best tackle and best corner have still yet to play. Jalen Ramsey will be back around Christmas. Hopefully, Teron Armstead, we'll see. But man, to go and a little nugget that's fun is Tua's last game statistically that he played without injury last year was against the Chargers. In week 1, he showed, we got this. Mike McDaniel, hats off too, because he's a good coach.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great coach. Lose to you.
Yeah, the fit. What's that?
Yeah,
I got my take 5 here. I just wanted to say, I know there were some guys out, but I loved what I saw from the Lions, especially on the defensive side of the ball on opening night. I think it's got to go without being said. I know a lot of people had time to listen to shows on Friday, maybe even it was talked about Sunday morning, but we all know that's when the Lions lose. Those are the games that they just can't bring home, and it's like, well, the Lions had a tough out, and it was a gritty performance. Aiden Hutchinson was playing against a cheater all night and was just an absolute machine. Aiden Hutchinson's in for a big year. Brian Branch, CGJ played phenomenal. Corner still looked a little sus, but the heart of that defense, Jack Campbell, Rodriguez, Aiden Hutchinson, the safeties, I just really like what I saw from the Lions. Chiefs will be back. Chiefs just got Travis Kelce and Chris Jones back. So the Chiefs are – and just while we're on the game, I mean, Chiefs defense shocked me. Now that they get Chris Jones, I have a total different outlook on the – I feel I almost wanted to say that the Chiefs were a team that I felt positive about in a loss because their wide receivers were dog water and they get their two best players back outside of Mahomes. So I just loved opening night. I thought Thursday night and Monday night were both fantastic games, and I just wanted to shout out the new look Lions, man. Maybe a lot of you guys listening are local fans, maybe you're even Lions fans, but tip of the cap. I've loved Jared Goff. I've kind of stuck my neck out in preseason a little bit for Jared Goff. He didn't have the best game, but no turnovers. I believe only Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Maybe there's another guy have longer streaks without throwing a pick. So he's taking care of the ball. They're running it. Jahmyr Gibbs looked fantastic. They need a deep threat. They need Jamison Williams back.
They do.
But the Lions just looked really good. Even if it's not Jamison Williams, they just need a guy who can run 4-3, just at least for the threat. Because most of their other guys like to work in the middle. Sam Laporta looked good. I thought the Lions, all their draft picks, all their top 4 that we talked about, all looked really well.
Do I have one more?
You might. Might not.
Who cares? Let's break the first segment. It doesn't even matter.
I have one more left.
Okay. So maybe I do have one more. So I did see this NFL Sunday Ticket. The users, it's up. YouTube versus DirecTV this year versus last year. Do you have the Sunday Ticket?
I have it because both of my parents and Casey's parents have it. So each one of my TVs has their second.
So you were using it this weekend though?
Yes, I have Sunday Ticket at my house.
Did you find it effective? Was it good? Was it different than years past?
It was bad? It was amazing. I have one critique.
What is it? Let's hear it.
When I turn on YouTube TV, bam, especially because it's catered to your algorithm. I am always on sports. Right across every square is just a different NFL game. They're all there. Yeah. Whether it's on local TV or Sunday Ticket, they're all there. And then there's 2 different channels that have a 4 square with 4 games on it. And then there's one that'll have 3 games, and then there's one that'll have 2. The only critique I have, and maybe it's because, I was in public trying to figure this out, but it was really smooth and I wasn't at home for Sunday. But the 4 corners, I'd like to be able to customize and make my own. I'd like to be able to pick 4 games to put on the square. I know I could do that with DirecTV Sunday Ticket from the computer. I don't know if you could do it on DirecTV because I only had it on my computer. But the 4 screen was perfect. You could move your square, and wherever it sat, it took about 5-6 seconds to load. Then the sound was coming out of there. You could click one of those squares, and it would take you to that game and full screen it. So everything was great. I just would like to be able to customize my own 4 corners. But, if I'm at home with 2 TVs, I'll just put both of those on and have all 8 games. 3rd TV with Red Zone because that's how the garage is on Sundays. But everything was really smooth, no connection issues. Everything was right in front of me. I didn't have to search really for nothing. It was in your face. You couldn't miss the Sunday Ticket.
Gotcha. Cool. You got one more.
Yeah, my last thing, we kind of touched on it already, but I just briefly, Texas Saturday. Hook 'em. But Texas rolled into, Bijan looked really good. Bijan looked really good for the Falcons. He was both of our Rookie of the Year choices. A lot of other people favored on most sites. But everyone was like, Tyler Algier killed it in fantasy and had 2 touchdowns. That's great in fantasy. Maybe we overdrafted a bit. It's 1 week. Let's settle down. But Bijan had 16 touches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Do you know how old Bijan Robinson is?
I think you say he's 22 now.
He's 21.
That's wild.
He's 21. And did you see his touchdown?
I did.
Catch in the flats, make one guy miss.
Yep.
Made 3 guys miss, walked in the end zone. How about it? He's so good. He's so good. All 3 of the big Texas guys killed it. Bijan, Justin Tucker, and Cameron Dicker all played really well. But
so did Roshan Johnson.
For the for the Bears?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I didn't see much of that game. But
he had 17 fantasy points.
Well, I'm glad he did well. Did he have I'm sure he had a touchdown then, I'm assuming.
I think he did.
Well, good on him.
Good on him. He did.
But yeah, just shout out Texas, Bijan. It was a good weekend for the Horns.
Yeah. All right, so that's 12 takes. That kicked us off here. One thing that I've always thought me and Brad do a really good job with is making sure your team's talked about. I was telling somebody about the kind of setup that Brad and I do and what we do as far as talking NFL teams. And don't get me wrong, we play the hits too. We talk Aaron Rodgers, we talk Tom Brady, we talk Mahomes, we talk the big ones. Of course, we play the hits. But I bet you we've talked about the Houston Texans more than any other podcast this year. That's what we do. We talk about every single team. It's how we do things. We're constantly bringing up other teams. Well, one thing we wanted to try and do is, even if it's rapid fire, talk every single team for this next segment. We're going to mention a team, quick little point, move on. You'll hear something about your team in every podcast, hopefully going forward. That's something we've always tried to pride ourselves on, but we want to try and make a segment out of it. So here we are, every team. Take it away.
We're just going to go in order of some of the matchups. I talked at length about it, but here you go, Detroit Lions.
As of right now, I'm still right where I'm at. I think they're a 10-win team, probably trending higher than where I have them. And I texted this to a lot of my Lions friends, cousins, family members that live up in Michigan, fantasy football groups. Anybody I remember talking to, their second drive of the game where they faked the punt and went, I think it was 15 yards or 15 play, 90 yards. I said that's champion. That was a championship level drive on the road at Arrowhead. Going for a fake punt inside your own 30 is balls of steel.
Yeah, I was watching it with J-Mag, shout out. And I just remember the drive was so long that they were inside the red zone. I was like, remember when they fake punted to start this drive?
It was 15 plays, man.
Yeah, it was a long drive. Fantastic. Yeah. I spoke at length about the Lions earlier, but again, I had them at 11-6. Love where I have them. Watch out for the pack, though. Let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs.
The biggest thing is the reason I have been down on this team for 2 years. They don't have any weapons outside of Travis Kelce, though Travis Kelce makes them very good immediately. They will be a much better and different watch this week.
Yeah, get Travis Kelce back and Chris Jones. The wide receivers, we got to figure it out. Kadarius Toney was a double agent out there. Honestly, the Chiefs should have won the game. But what I will say is what really shocked me is that middle linebacker pairing of Bolton and Gay played outstanding. Yeah. Secondary did enough, and the D-line was winning at times against the Lions O-line. The offense, we can have our questions. But watch out for Kansas City to, one of their big things the last few years is they win a lot. They don't cover spreads. This defense looks like the defense to be able to let them pull away in some games or maybe not need to get as high. The defense looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, they're going to struggle. I mean, I think they're probably the worst team in their division. Rookie quarterback's going to have rookie mistakes. That's typical. I think I heard the stat today. Shout out Kyle Miller. Rookie quarterbacks over the last 3 seasons are 0-10 in their first game. I mean, it is what it is. I expect him to be better week 2, but ultimately, I think Bryce Young's going to struggle.
Yeah, and that's the story. He just doesn't have enough weapons or the O-line to really compete. And he played against the Falcons, threw a couple picks. I'm not going to bury him because he's a rookie, but Carolina, I said I didn't really believe in Bryce Young. I'm not sure. Well, he's got so much time to figure that out yet, but they only scored 10 points on the road in division, so we'll see where he goes from here. But this is a team I had at 4 wins, and nothing really changes here. Yep. We'll move over to Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a super strong point on them. The one thing I will say is they beat what I think is a bad football team. Okay, I was higher on them early preseason. Thought they did a lot of things on their defense. Thought they did a lot of things kind of orchestrate how they want to be this year. And shout out them. They ran the ball 26 times. I mean, that's kind of a ball control offense. They threw it 18. So kind of plays into what they are. And they made Ritter a game manager. 15 of 18 for 115 yards. They wouldn't let him throw it deep. Short completions, keep the chains moving. We're going to run the ball. We're going to ball control it. They're going to struggle to beat really good teams. They just are. They don't have the quarterback play to do it. But Bijan looked good in his first outing. Kyle Pitts, couple of catches, nothing crazy. That's why I regressed him towards the end of preseason.
Yeah. Rushing leader had 75 yards. Receiving leader had 44. They do spread it around a lot. We talked about London, Pitts, Algier, Patterson, Bijan. Plenty of people got touches. Rushing and receiving leader were 44 and 75, but Bijan had 82 total yards. So they do spread it around. But yeah, I'm gonna beat this into the ground. They're gonna win a lot of games. I think their defense is really gonna show up big time this year. But gosh, I hope this is where Kirk Cousins goes in the offseason. We'll go to Cincinnati.
2022. They struggled for the first month of 2022.
That's right.
Joe Burrow did not throw a ball for 2 months. He got hurt, and it showed. He literally injured himself the first week of training camp. The first week. I wasn't shocked that they looked that bad. It just wasn't shocking to me. I picked him to win, but once it started to unfold, I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, I should have seen this coming, honestly. I had a 9-leg parlay Sunday, and it was the first game that I was like, well, this parlay's dead. I mean, it was so obvious once it started to happen. I will say this, though. Well, I'll save it for a second here. Go ahead.
All right. The Bengals, Joe Burrow is just worried. I don't know how much it played into it, but Aaron Rodgers had a calf aggravated in the offseason, and then his Achilles ended up going. Burrow, they still talk about it a lot. He looks skittish. Granted, that Browns defense looked good, but he looked skittish, and they ended up pulling him late. I know that was because of the score, not because of injury. It was a bad weather game, but people think about how bad the Steelers got beat, and they lost by 23. Bengals only lost by 21. So, I mean, maybe it seems different because they normally struggle against the Browns. But there was a passing, rushing, and receiving leader from this game, and they were all from the Browns. They got to get it together. They got to get it figured out. But I just wonder, about this team because Deshaun Watson didn't look great, but this Bengals defense I don't think is good. I just think this is a team that has high expectations that could fall short. I'd like to see a much better performance in week 2. They definitely have it in them, and they did struggle in the beginning last season. They've gone to a Super Bowl. They've gone to an AFC Championship game. Those are some long seasons to not have the fruitful result like the Chiefs have. How much is that going to wear and tear on some of these players, and maybe this team has a down year? I don't know. We'll see, but we'll move right into Cleveland.
Yeah, pass rush is really good. They can run the ball like we knew they could. Deshaun did not look fantastic, but I didn't think he was awful. As of right now, I have him at 6-11. Feels like a team that would trend higher. But I thought they played really well. I think they took advantage of a great opportunity. That's really all I have to say.
Yeah, I think Cleveland really secured the moment. They came out big. They beat the heck out of the Bengals, and they have a chance next week to go 2-0 in division, 2-0 in the league, and really put themselves in a great spot going forward because the Bengals also play the Ravens. So there's a potential that the Bengals and Steelers could both be 0-2 to start Bengals 0-2 in division. So the Browns have put themselves in a great spot. Deshaun Watson looked good running the ball, okay throwing. Nick Chubb is one of a couple guys to have over 100 yards rushing. We kind of saw that coming. Little bad weather, but at home got it done, beat the Bengals. I had him at 9-8. I still like him right where I'm at. I think Deshaun Watson needs to prove he can throw the ball a little bit more. But if you're from the dog pound, you got to be happy. I mean, you're on cloud 9. You just beat the heck out of the Bengals. We'll go into the Jags.
I refuse to judge him off this game. There is a weird dynamic with Jags Colts. It's weird. I'm not sure what it is.
Next level.
Yeah. I think they're just fine. And Calvin Ridley looked good. That's my biggest takeaway. Calvin Ridley looked good after 2 years off of football. That was a good sign.
ETN looked great. Bigsby as his backup looked like he's going to be a nice counterpunch. He got a touchdown too. Calvin Ridley allows Christian Kirk to be the 2. Zay Jones is a 3, and Zay Jones made, next to Garrett Wilson, maybe the best catch of the entire weekend on his touchdown play. This offense going to go. Indianapolis got a weird defensive touchdown. Other than that, they allowed 14 points, but divisional game, Colts at home. Anthony Richardson is a pretty good athlete, but in the end, they showed their colors. I don't think the Jags played perfect, but that offense is going to be a problem. They win by 10. I think the Jags they started better than I thought they would, honestly, and I think they're in a great spot. We'll go to the Colts now, switch over to Indianapolis.
Trey Lance is extremely jealous that Anthony Richardson went to a team that bought into his talents. I got to be honest. I thought this was a bust. 24 of 37 for 223, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He was sacked 4 times, okay? 10 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. You're a bad football team that I have projected at 1 win, and you were leading the Jags in the 4th quarter. I mean, yeah, I thought Richardson was fine, and I think this head coach is going to work out too.
Yeah, I'd say on defense, getting is it Darius or Shaquille Leonard now? What does he go by?
It's Shaquille Leonard.
All right, so Shaq Leonard is back, defensive player of the year candidate from a few years ago before this weird injury in his back, but he's back to playing. DeForest Buckner was in his bag. They do have some good pass rushers, Kwity Paye and company. I think the defense is pretty good. They're going to be okay. But offensively, yeah, Anthony Richardson has the best spike of the season so far, without doubt. That was pretty cool. I think this offense just needs a really good running back. Hopefully they can find one maybe in the offseason or something. But if he gets a really good running back, I think that this offense could really start to make something of themselves. So positive.
One last thing, real quick. Go keep going, but don't.
I was just going to say, I felt positive about the Colts. And yes, who Anthony Richardson is as a person and how they've embraced him. It's kind of like, man, I want to see the Colts do well. Not too good, but yeah, you're kind of rooting for him when you're out there on the TV there.
Yeah, I think so. This is the craziest stat, but Anthony Richardson was the 7th different week 1 starting quarterback for the Colts over the last 7 years.
7 for 7.
7 for 7. And 7 years ago, it was Andrew Luck. Okay. And I'm gonna go out on the limb and say this is the best one since Andrew Luck. Now, mind you, he ain't Andrew Luck, and I'm not comparing him to Andrew Luck, so let's not get it twisted T. But let's not get it twisted. There's a big gap.
Big gap.
But
Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, Jacoby Brissett, like
Phillip Rivers, you're feeling better today for next season already than you were with Rivers or with Matt Ryan or with Wentz or with – it doesn't even matter at this point. You feel better today knowing, like, we actually might have our guy here. It's going to take a minute, and it's going to look ugly at times, but I think there's something here.
We kind of went into both these teams in the takes, but Tampa and Minnesota.
Tampa is what I think they are. Championship pedigree, will be in a ton of games this year. Baker's no slouch. That's what they are. I think I had them at 8 wins.
Yeah, I had them at 8, took them down to 6, but in that prediction, I said I regretted it because it was basically me kind of doing something I normally don't do and changing my wins based on everybody else, including Bucks fans, kind of down on them. I'd move them right back up to 8. I think they're going to be players in just about every game they play. Baker's got to continue to take care of the ball like he did. If this team wins the turnover battle, they're going to beat a lot of teams, actually. I like their front 7. Mike Evans still got it, man, going for that next 1,000. They did have the leading rusher in the game, even though it was only 39 yards, so you can see what these teams are trying to do clearly. But Yeah, Baker can stay healthy and take care of the ball. I like him a lot. Minnesota.
I'm excited to see him play Thursday night. I thought they were one of like 2 or 3 teams that were the better team that lost this week. Like they outplayed their opponent. Just they made too many mistakes. I'm still just fine on them. I am excited to see how they play against Eagles because it makes you wonder, like, are the Patriots as good as I think are, or did the Eagles regress? And are the Vikings as good as I think they are? And it's just a week one. Like, there's a fun dynamic for Thursday night. I'm excited to see that game.
I believe people got my conviction on the Vikings on what I think they are. 7-10, can throw the ball, struggle to run. I don't like their defense or their O-line, but I am a little worried about them in terms of if they do lose the Eagles on Thursday, they play the Chargers week 3. There's a real chance for this thing to really start to fall apart, especially if the Lions and Packers look like they did on the weekend. We'll go to Tennessee.
Get Ryan Tannehill out of there. It's time. It's time. Both teams are very good defensively, so don't let the low-scoring outing confuse you. That was a gritty football game. 2 teams that play smash-mouth defensive football. Mike Vrabel continues to impress me his coaching style. Derrick Henry still has it. Derrick Henry still freaking has it. Derek Carr, I think, looked pretty good.
Like some of these quarterbacks, like where we're like, they're playing longer. I'm not saying all running backs. We don't get to decide when Derrick Henry won't be Derrick Henry anymore. Only he gets to decide that. We can't. Derrick Henry's benching the weight room with chains. Why a Chevy, Ford, F1, Toyota 150 is trying to pull him? You know what I'm saying? Like he's crazy. He's crazy.
Yeah, I think D-Hop's frustrated. Dude was targeted like 75 million times and caught like 4 balls. Get Tannehill out of there. It's time.
Offense is limited. Defense, again, it's the best defense in the league that you don't know anybody on. I mean, I think there's Jeffrey Simmons and Kevin Byard.
And Harold Landry.
Oh, yeah, because he had like 14 sacks, then blew his ACL out last year, and now he's gotcha. But yeah, still Tennessee. It's that coach. They embody their coach. So Mike Vrabel's a guy who he's the only coach who's losing over the past 12 months that his job's not in question at all.
No. You said this, I think it was sometime last year. Mike Vrabel somehow convinces everybody on his defense that they need to win a fight this weekend or they're cut from the team and they all win their fight. Like, it's just like there's no reason for them to be as good as they are. There's no reason. Yeah.
But they lost. We'll move over to the Saints.
Yeah, they lost. Not by a lot.
Yeah, we'll move over to the Saints.
Again, I think it was a gritty matchup. 2 tough-nosed defenses. I think the Saints are just fine. I still think they're trending towards winning that division. I thought it was a solid week 1 outing.
Yeah, maybe a Raiders fan will holler at me, in private or something, but the Raiders they've done the least amount of winning since 2000. And so maybe one has slipped through the cracks. But when's the last time Derek Carr put up 16 points and got a W? He has to be on cloud 9.
He only put up 16 points.
Yeah, and he got a W. Like, it was his first game in front of the home crowd. He still threw for 305 yards, and I don't know if he turned the ball over. Olave went 112. Mike Thomas looked good. Remember, this is a team that doesn't even have Alvin Kamara yet. Think about what they're going to do with that guy. I thought it was a tremendous outing for the Saints. They need to pump those numbers up. Got to get more points, especially at home. But I just wanted to say, as a guy who likes to root for Derek Carr, I think he's a good dude. He went to the Saints, threw for 305 yards, probably felt like he let the team down a little bit and only scored 16, and he celebrated a win in the locker room. I just think his confidence is going to go up so much knowing that defense is right there behind him, and I'm excited to see what the Saints team does going forward. Feel really good about them winning the division. We're going to skip this game. San Francisco.
Yeah, Brock Purdy's just fine. His arm's just fine. The Niners are really good. What we already knew.
Okay. Steelers. No, I'm just kidding. I'll talk about the 49ers. I understand why teams that played them last year were 0-17 the next week. I get it.
Does that scare you?
No. Well, yeah, it does. I mean, we got guys leaving with groins. I mean, Fred Warner, their whole team's freaks. And the thing is we've always said, and maybe some of you guys believe in Jimmy G a little bit. I think what Brock Purdy's showing is better than Jimmy G, just on not turning the ball over alone. That just balls athleticism a little bit. So I'm just saying, we've always said, what happens when this 49ers roster gets a good quarterback? And for the past like 10 games or however many it's going to be, we're seeing that. I mean, the team's loaded. Christian McCaffrey goes for $150. Brandon Ayuk goes for 130. You know, Deebo Samuel, and this is on a good defense. I believe that'll show over time here. Obviously, week 1 it did not. But
you don't think the Niners have a good defense?
No, they do. I'm talking about the Steelers.
Oh,
I guess I did move into the Steelers. No, 49ers deep. Yeah, they have a great defense.
Take the Steelers away. Go ahead.
Yeah, 49ers defense. They have the best. Spoiler, they're number 1 on my rankings. The Steelers, they just have a lot to prove because a lot of it's on hearsay and belief, but we just haven't seen it. I went into their yardage stats from an offensive standpoint. Their defense plays, I mean, they didn't play well against the 49ers, but TJ Watt's him. I think the defense will get it together, but this offense has to prove it. And whether that's the personnel or the play calling, I don't know. Tell me how Kenny Pickett had more passing yards than Brock Purdy yesterday or Sunday. Sure didn't feel like it. So
they were playing from behind.
Well, right, but I'm just saying still, I mean, like, does it really feel like Kenny Pickett threw for 233 or 232 yards?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So it's just like they got outplayed everywhere. And if it wasn't for the Giants, it'd have been the worst loss of the weekend. They just week 2 is really boom or bust because if they lose to the Browns, so Steelers, I hate to do this, but week 2 season might be on the line. Arizona.
Do I get to talk about the Steelers or no?
No. No, you can't. Here you go.
Yeah, just my biggest reservations, obviously, we openly admit we're biased. You know, we try not to be, but we are just naturally optimistic and biased. Just naturally, right? And I know you had the Steelers at 13. I think you regressed them.
My final answer was 12-5.
12-5. Okay. The only reason I had so much reservation towards that, and like I couldn't even hear that, was they don't run the ball, and Kenny Pickett has never displayed any sort of elite quarterback pop. And you were like, well, I kind of predicted that the Eagles would do this, and now I'm kind of predicting the Steelers would do this. And it just isn't the same to me because, like, though I like George Pickens, you didn't just land A.J. Brown. There's a lot of factors there. This offensive line allowed 5 sacks on Kenny Pickett, and they only handed the ball off 10 times.
Yeah, like I kind of said earlier, I thought that maybe the play calling got more advanced from what I saw in the preseason, but it was just that the defenses were more vanilla. Like we start off against the 49ers, and the second play, after we run for 0 yards, he runs a jet sweep to Calvin Austin. Like, it's really frustrating, and I tried to stick my neck out for this guy, and I want him to, but it just seems like there's reports leaking out of the building already that people are tired of Matt Canada. People remember, at least I do, that video that surfaced where, like, Matt Canada, the team's, like, walking into the locker room after a win, and Matt Canada's like, nice win, and you hear Chris Boswell from the back, wasn't because of you or something like that. Like, I don't think people want him in the building, but the Steelers are loyal to their guys and coaching staff, and I just feel like we might get rid of him too late. I don't know. We'll see. Again, winning fixes everything, and we have an opportunity Monday to erase this Niners game. But if we lose, it just compounds, and it can be real ugly.
Go ahead.
Big Ben for offensive coordinator. Arizona Cardinals.
Arizona Cardinals. I'm shocked you scored 16 points.
That all you got?
That's all, man.
Washington.
I feel bad if you're a Cardinals fan, you're listening. Actually, I don't, because you are the first team close enough to get Caleb Williams right now. So,
And they have Houston pick, and they're 0-1. So keep a ticker on that.
yeah.
That's what I'll do. When we talk about the Cardinals, I'll just say the Texans record.
Yes. You are 0-1. The Texans are 0-1. You have your chances of getting Caleb Williams and or Marvin Harrison Jr.
Just get Caleb Williams and Drake May. One of them's got to work.
Yeah, just draft them both, have them compete at Cam, and cut the other one. Commanders. I appreciate the hype for week 1. The owner, all the celebrities showing out,
40% discount on food.
Everything they did, I'm all for it. They don't have an offense to talk about. They just don't. Terry McLaurin, I would trade him at this point. You need to create some sort of tanking situation like the Cardinals are doing. Seriously though, you have a new owner.
It's just funny to hear it.
Get behind a 1-season tank. You have the defensive line, start rebuilding the offensive line, and get a quarterback in there. Sam Howell's not it.
Week 1, you're not going to rust off a little bit. Only objective is to get a W. Washington did that. I do think this is something that they can build on. I still believe Sam Howell can be better. I don't think this team's great. I think I have them around like 5 wins. I don't know. It's just 2 bad teams kind of playing here, and Washington just won. I don't really. Again, I feel bad because normally I watch just about every snap all over the place in my garage. I'm command center type thing. Just had a volleyball tournament, so I didn't get to see much of these 2 teams. So just leave it there. Houston.
I was impressed that the Ravens did not blow them out. And I was impressed of how much they bottled up Lamar. And I don't know if it was them or the Ravens struggling. Is that fair?
Sure.
I mean, Lamar had less than 200 yards passing, less than 40 yards rushing. If I told you that right now, you'd have been like, oh, the Texans upset him. They sacked him 4 times, picked him off, and took 2 fumbles away from him. The Ravens still won the game. It doesn't make sense. The Texans literally outplayed them. I don't know. They just couldn't do anything offensively. I think that'll come in time. CJ Stroud, 28 of 44. He was sacked 5 times. It was really a sack fest.
Yeah, it's going to take time for this offense, an offense that I don't believe has any real receivers. Shout out Nico Collins for leading the team in receiving yards at 80. But I just wanted to say, I think I mentioned it in our preseason, Houston's defense is real, but their offense is just so far behind. Like, this is one team, I feel like it's almost like the Steelers, and I hate to say that, but it's like the defense is so far ahead of their offense that it's just a little lopsided, where it's like some of these takeaways and statistics, they just weren't capitalized on or utilized, and they're going to lose games. But they traveled to Baltimore, and that defense put on a show. Offense just couldn't get it done. They held them to 9 points. Baltimore, playing that badly, still scored 25 and won by 2 tuds. So, I mean, they're still a good team. They did get some injuries, but we'll move right over them. Ravens. We'll go right over the Ravens.
Yeah, it sucks for J.K. Dobbins. I don't want to say his career is over, but my Lord. It's just the 2 worst running back injuries he's got him 2 out of 3 seasons. Like, it's just tough. Super impressed with Zay Flowers, though. Came in right away, catches 9 balls for 78 on 10 targets. Odell made an appearance, but nothing crazy. I just was a little shocked at how bad the offense looked of Baltimore, and yet they still won comfortable.
Yeah, we also have to remember, I don't think they played Lamar much in preseason, and he missed like their last 8 or 9 games. So remember, Lamar's coming off almost 11 months without football here, 10 months. So he'll get back into the swing of things. This offense will get fast. And, yeah, the whole AFC North, the Browns look the best. say that.
And it's not like they looked like world beaters.
Yeah.
They looked good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But they did look the best, I think, out of the 4 teams.
Yeah.
Well, they beat one anyway. Green Bay.
They looked way better than I thought they would be. Way better. And it's the one team that me and you we could not see eye to eye on.
Our furthest win differential on prediction.
Yeah. I think I had them at 6 wins.
10, I had 10, you had 6.
Yeah. Today I have them. I think I would just swap them with the Bears. So I have them right around 8 or 9 wins. A couple more extra wins on there. They will struggle this season. But especially if Aaron Jones misses some significant time.
I don't think he's gonna.
Just a minor injury?
Yeah, because they said that, like, he pulled up, but he still went into the back. And then they said, like, he was on the bench getting looked at by some trainers, and, like, a drone flew over him, and he, like, threw up one of these and was, like, smiling. Like, he might – I think maybe A.J. Dillon, fantasy play, might get more of the workload next week, but I believe he'll still even play next week, and he should be good to go.
But shout out Jordan Love in that spot to look as good as he did.
Yeah, at Soldier Field, the longest running rivalry, following up Aaron Rodgers. Okay, so if the Bears play an elite defense, Fields is still going to struggle. I believe the Packers have an elite defense. And, man, the defense did not look improved at all. But again, we always had questions about quarterback play because Rodgers didn't play great last year, and now it's Jordan Love. But we always knew the roster around him was good. And they punked this Bears team kind of. If it wasn't for a later touchdown, I mean, they would have won by, 20-plus points as well. They beat them by 18. Jordan Love, 245, clean game. All of his touchdowns were beautifully thrown balls. He was leading guys. Every time he came over to the sideline, defensive guys dapping him up. The team really seems to love Love, and so do I. I had him at 10-7. They got a real shot at this division. I think they're really the Lions and them. We could see Jared Goff versus Jordan Love, I think, for the next 8 years.
Yeah, I agree.
And then it kind of bleeds into Chicago. Fields moves to 5-21.
If you get rid of the first overall pick, you have to believe in your guy. They brought in DJ Moore, got some draft compensation. You could argue DJ Moore was like the number 1 overall pick for them. You know what I mean? Because the rest of those players they haven't really gotten yet. 2 catches for 25 yards isn't going to do it.
So I'll go up on that. As a number 1, you do have to do better. Jair Alexander is that kind of guy. I know you've always been a little bit lesser on him than I have. But he is the top 5 corner in the league, and he kind of shut him down. Darnell Mooney had a nice 20-yard touchdown. He's doing well in that second role. I think he's going to flourish a little bit. But, man, I saw a video, and it was like a tag from Kyle Brandt. It said one guy was sleepwalking for the Bears, and y'all saw it. He's on offense. And it's like a 12-play compilation where it's just focusing on Chase Claypool.
Is he just dead?
Dude, I got to find a way for you to see this. There was like 3 tackles for loss where he just like missed his block or just got carried backwards. He ran like a route, and it literally we could run the route faster than he did. Swear to you. He's like, he comes across. It was really embarrassing is what it was.
His rookie year, he scored 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I think 7 of them came in a 3-week stretch. He scored 4 against the Eagles in 1 game.
Okay.
Yeah. So the one thing about him is he would run a deep route because all he wanted to do was run go routes. You'd throw it deep and he would jump real high, but then try and catch it at his chest. So he led the league 1 year in pass interference yards. But, I mean, for us to get the 32nd pick and turn that into Joey Porter Jr., I think it's crazy. I mean, it was just embarrassing. They got to figure that out. But, yeah, the Bears are still a project. They're starting quarterbacks 5-21. Got to figure it out. And you just got beat pretty bad by a divisional opponent. So I had them at 8 and 9 as an optimistic improvement. I think I might lower those expectations, but I do love the Packers. Moving on, we got the Raiders and the Broncos.
Start with the Raiders. Impressed with their W, 17-16, so they didn't score a ton of points, but the one thing that Jimmy G does is he wins ball games. And in a spot here, honestly, I thought this was a Broncos victory. I felt like Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, but yet it's Jimmy G that kind of does enough to get the W. Yeah, Josh Jacobs, what do you know? Back to being average like I've called him for his entire career. Jacoby Myers balls out. I think he'll have a great year with them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this was two bad football teams. I think this was two average football teams.
Not a lot of teams have a Patrick Surtain. So Devontae Adams, Jimmy G, I think is going to be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's another story for Denver, only scoring 3 points in the second half. Coaching adjustments, the team, the roster, whatever it is. Just to combine it both, I think the Raiders are a bad team that got a loss or a win. I think Denver's a bad team that got a loss. I still don't believe in either of these teams, but I mean, I kind of just want to switch them. I mean, I had the Raiders at 5-12 and Denver at 8-9. I wouldn't have any problem switching those. I think Vegas at least has a direction they're going. The Broncos just seem like chaos. It's just so chaotic. It's just too much. Got anything on Denver?
Not a ton. I thought this team would look a lot different week one. I thought Sean would take the ball out of Russ's hands a little bit and try to just like dominate the run game. He didn't do that. He let Russ throw it a bunch for only 177 yards. You threw the ball 34 times, completed 27 of them for 177 yards. It's the lowest average completion in the league right now. Check down.
Thumbs up or thumbs down on the opening onside kick?
I'm all for it. I don't care about that. I'm all for it. Go ahead. That is Sean Payton. He opened the second half of the Super Bowl with an onside kick. It paid off.
Yeah.
Paid off. He got it and they scored. I'm okay with it. To be honest, are you shocked? Sean Payton is so arrogant.
I'm not shocked. I just thumbs down.
I get that. I respect that.
I want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I respect that.
We touched on this game a little bit. Eagles.
I think the Patriots defense is really good, so it's hard to judge them, but they did look lethargic on offense. They could not run the ball unless it was Jalen Hurts, and even then he couldn't really get free. But I can assure you right now, it sucks that Nakobe Dean got hurt, but they've hit on all their Georgia prospects. They're all very good.
Yeah, I'll say for the Eagles, 2 new coordinators going into New England against the best defensive coach, probably best head coach in the league. Mac Jones with an offensive coordinator going back to the Mac Jones we thought he could, at least I thought he could be. He's playing really well. You have 2 new starting safeties, 2 new starting middle linebackers, and you get a win. It was gritty and it was nasty. That's what it takes to beat the Patriots a lot of times. But I will say you're going up against the Vikings this Thursday who can pass. And Nakobe Dean is now out. And James Bradbury's in concussion protocol. There could be a lot of points in this game. A lot of points. So I do worry about the Eagles. So I'm reserved a little bit. But, they went to the Super Bowl from the NFC side last year, and there was 2 NFC teams that looked better than they did. But Eagles are still a top-tier team. Patriots, we talked about them mostly.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add. I was disappointed with the loss, obviously, but I feel great going into week 2. I seen what I needed to see, and it's what I was expecting. They would be able to pass the ball, which, by the way, people don't realize this because if you don't follow the Patriots, you wouldn't see this. Their 2 starting guards were announced just a couple hours before kickoff to be out. That was not supposed to be the plan. They started 2 rookie guards on opening day. 2 rookie guards. Their right tackle that started was out all of preseason. He just got cleared for week 1, and he started at right tackle. It was the first time this unit had ever taken a single snap together. They looked pretty good. They didn't give up a sack on Mac until the fourth quarter, and the Eagles led the league in sacks last year. So that was pretty impressive.
Time will tell, but they look like a playoff team to me.
The Patriots?
Yes.
I thought they were too.
They look like a playoff team to me. Dolphins.
Tua stays healthy. They are so good. They can literally Tyreek Hill, first off, he's the MVP right now. He is so good. Keep Tua off his back. That's all I got.
Yeah. Tua threw for 466. This offense is going to hum as long as he's piloting it. Mike McDaniel behind. Got to remember, he was a run game coordinator who got hired as head coach. And now 2 years into calling the plays and running it all, it looks smooth, man. That Chargers defense, he dissected it really, really badly, really good. He made them look really bad, excuse me. And then this defense, Vic Fangio with, Bradley Chubb, Xavier Howard, Javon Holland. They got some guys, and they didn't stop the Chargers the whole day, but when they needed to stop, they were able to get them. And again, this is Jalen Ramsey reinforcement coming in 8-9 weeks. So Dolphins, they looked really good. They were one of the top 3 best looking teams on the weekend. We'll go to the Chargers.
Get a new head coach. That's all I got. Everything else is great. Get a new head coach.
Head coach is pulling back on this team so bad. The way the offense looked, if it keeps going this way, I'll be excited to watch Kellen Moore get his first head coaching opportunity, hopefully getting promoted within, or maybe Jim Harbaugh. All right, that's all I got on the Chargers. Rams, we kind of hit on these guys already.
They're the most overachieving Week 1 team by a mile. I reserve the right to change my mind, but I mean, as of right now, my 4 wins I feel like need to be bumped back up to 8. But who knows? This could have just been a Week 1 weird thing.
Thought the Rams would lose by 20. But if you told me they ended up scoring 30, I'd have said I could believe that, but they'll probably still lose. They not only scored 30, but held Seattle to 13 and won by 17. Without question, the most wrong I've been on a team in Week 1. Well, maybe them and the Steelers, but these guys more, I think, in the 3 years we've done this podcast. I think it's the most wrong I've been on any team in Week 1.
Yeah.
And you could almost say vice versa for Seattle. They look lethargic.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this right now.
The second half, they got out-coached bad.
Yeah, I don't want to just shout out a hot take because that just doesn't feel right here. I moved this team up to, I think, 12 wins, competing for the division. I still think that is their ceiling. Their rookies did not play great. I believe their second-round rookie running back, let's just see it here, 3 carries for 11 yards. And then Jackson Smith-Njigba, their first-round receiver, 3 catches for 13 yards. So they had 6 total touches for a combined 24 yards. That's not going to do it. You need more production from those guys. DK was average at best. I mean, too many mistakes on this team. They couldn't get off the field and they couldn't stay on the field. That'll lose you every game you ever play.
Also, they didn't have Devin Witherspoon, so that should help them a little bit. Next time. You want to start with the Giants or the Cowboys?
Start with the Cowboys. They were my Super Bowl team to start the year from the NFC. And I said this, I believe, on one of the last pods we did. I've told a couple people this. I started watching football in 2006. So I was born in 92. So when I say comments like this is the best team of my life, I'm really talking about since 2006. I'm not talking about since 92 when I was born, because the Cowboys were really good in the early 90s. Since 2006, this is the best Cowboys team of my life. They got a good quarterback. a good offensive line, a good running back, 2 receivers, 2 corners, 2 pass rushers, solid safety play, and a couple Hall of Famers on this roster between Zach Martin, Micah Parsons,
Gilmore.
Yeah. This is a loaded team. Arguably the best defensive coordinator in the league. And Mike McCarthy is say what you want about him. He's a good head coach. He's not great. He's good. They demolished a bad football team.
Yeah. People say wait till we have to rely on Dak because he's turnover prone, but you don't have to rely on him unless you're playing elite upper echelon teams, which we can talk about what we want to predict once the playoff starts. But week in and week out, the Dallas Cowboys are going to be in every game, win a lot of them, and blow out teams a couple times this year. Now, I don't expect 40-0 to happen again, but this was 40-0 with Dak Prescott throwing for 143 yards, Pollard running for 70, and the best receiver 77 yards. The offense just sat on the bench and clapped while this defense put on one of the most effective and spectacular displays. The Dallas Cowboys defense is so fast and so deep. And say what you want about Trayvon Diggs allowing yards, force fumbles, get you picks, get you touchdowns. He's a playmaker. And quietly, Stephon Gilmore just sits on his side every game. He's seen everything you can throw at him. Former Defensive Player of the Year. Micah Parsons, Dexter Lawrence are just, you got to run for your life. And then, fantastic display by them against the Giants. We don't know about the offense. Let's see. Tony Pollard looked good, but Dak didn't play, and they won by 40. So that just speaks to how many different ways some teams can win certain ways. Dallas can win in a lot of different ways, and that's a big, big plus.
Yeah.
Giants.
This is a team that made the playoffs, and they won a playoff game.
But
I don't think this is not a good football team, though. I struggle to see a lot of good things in this team. Daniel Jones is the most overpaid quarterback in the league. And I understand they played a Hall of Fame level defense, and Dallas is probably going to have the best defense in the league this year, probably number 1 or top 2 or 3 at the floor. But you can't be that bad. Like, they were horrible. They were horrible. I don't project them as a playoff team, so this wasn't shocking to me. Like, we talked about shocking things. The Rams shocked me. Like, this 40-0, okay, I didn't predict that. But, like, I've seen this as a blowout game, and it is what it was, But, no, I mean, Giants aren't good. They'll win some games.
Yeah.
It looked like Brian Dable wanted to jump off a cliff. I felt bad for him.
The Giants couldn't run, pass, stop the run, stop the pass, kick, punt, block. They just couldn't play football. The only thing this team can do is put it behind them and go to week 2. Clearly, they're not an elite team. They might not even be a playoff team, but they are not this bad. I believe the Giants and the Steelers just got smacked in the mouth by 2 of the best teams in the league, the 49ers and Cowboys. You just got to regroup and move on to week 2. But week 2, you got to win, or else this is just going to compound and get out of control. So the Steelers play the Browns. The Giants play the Cardinals next week.
Yep.
Heaven forbid they lose.
They won't.
Well, did you have the Giants much better than Washington?
They're better than Washington.
But it was still a close game, so I do think they'll win. I got the Giants as well, but I'm just saying, God, heaven forbid they lose. So, And then last night, I think we talked about both these teams a little bit, especially New York, but Buffalo.
Patriots can beat them. That's my takeaway. The Patriots can beat the Bills. I mean, that's a biased take, but I see nothing from the Bills last night that I'm like, oh my God, the Patriots can't compete with this team. They can 100% beat the Bills. That's how I feel this morning. Josh Allen needs to get some shit together because he's too good for what we're seeing. He is too good for this. I refuse to listen to people that say Josh Allen sucks. He does not suck.
No.
He's making bad choices. He is way too good for this.
I feel like take away injuries. So I'm not take away injuries out of it. I feel like sometimes Josh Allen is Anthony Davis. Like he can just come out and just completely win you a game.
Yeah.
And then just sometimes he just does stuff where it's like, what were you doing tonight? Like Josh Allen had 4 turnovers. Every single one of them happened why they had the lead. Like you didn't have to. There was 2 that were arm punts. But like the fumble, what are we doing, Josh? And the pick on the sideline, what are we doing? There was just a lot of like, and he knows it too. He took it all on himself after the game. And he was like, same shit. It's just a hurdle for him, this Jets team. And this Jets defense is no joke. You talk about a Jets team who have maybe the best 2 pairings at corner. Shout out Cowboys, they're up there. But maybe the best 2 pairing at corner was Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. And the Bills can't run. Like, you got to throw at those corners all day. Brad, it was the safety that had 3 picks. I get it. But it's because he couldn't throw it at the 2 corners. So they're just the Bill. It's kind of like what I said about Michigan, Ohio State to one of my friends the other day. But the Bills are built to win a Super Bowl. The Jets are built to beat Buffalo. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. The Jets have been constructing their roster to take down the big bad Bills. But the Bills are built for the long haul of a season. This team's still going to win 11-plus games.
Yeah.
Jets.
Yeah, obviously I'm a Patriot fan, so like I'm not happy, but I feel bad for the Jets. Like it is such a shitty situation. I regress their win total right now. It is what it is. I could see them being sellers at the deadline. They got to unleash some cap. I heard this today. You'd have to imagine, like, think you're the Jets, right? They're trying to plan for next season already, and yet they can't because, like, is Aaron coming back? And are you really trying to plan for a 40-year-old quarterback with an Achilles injury? Like, it's just a weird dynamic that Jets have found themselves in. And it all came spiraling down in front of the largest Monday Night Football crowd. I just seen the stat. I wish I still had it up. It was like the largest watched Monday Night Football game in years. And
I was there. I was part of it.
It was 4 plays and their season's over. It's honestly wild.
I'll just say with the Jets, I hope you wrote your predictions in pencil because just reset it to last year. This is last year's Jets. There's nothing different. They have Dalvin Cook now.
Yeah, but they're not going 7-1.
Right. Either way, I'm just saying reset. Your expectations are 6 to 9 wins. Breece Hall looked good.
Yeah.
But if he wasn't coming off injury, he would have had 2 50-plus yard touchdown runs in the first quarter.
Yeah.
He got caught, and you could tell he was tired. His legs weren't the same. But, Josh just has to dial it back in. The Jets are going to, it's tough stuff with Aaron Rodgers. But, I think it was a bit of a fluky win. Well, I can't say that 100% because some people are listening. And you say, well, he had 4 turnovers. Josh Allen leads everybody in turnovers in the last, 5 years. And it is crazy. Without Brian Daboll, again, Brian Daboll can't just give you talent. But when he was with Josh Allen and when he's with Daniel Jones, the turnover numbers dropped drastically. Holy crap, couldn't get that word out. But, Brian Daboll is a dog. You wouldn't know it after 40-0, but
I got 3 questions, mailbag. I figure we could just rapid fire them and get to the power rankings. You ready?
Sure. Yep.
First question comes in from Dave Hazelton. He writes in a couple of times here. He's a Steeler fan. Will Tom Brady go win the ship with the Jets?
Nope.
Moving on. He writes in again, Brad, since you were a 10 on the Steelers before week 1, where are you at now? He's currently at an 8.
Is that win totals or I'm all in? I get it, emotional level.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness, I'm pretty shaky right now. I'm at a 6 with the injuries mixed with how the offense looked. But to make it into the playoffs, you're allowed 7 losses. We've used up 1. It was on a non-conference opponent. But I'll tell you what, we have a chance to reset that on Monday. But the Browns give us hell every time we play them, and they looked pretty good. And for a team that runs the ball and is physical, we just got bullied by the 49ers. And I hope we get this win. But this ain't the same old Steelers and the same old Browns. You know, a lot of things have changed the past 5 years. But I think we can win, and I'd say I'm at a 6 right now. I'm pretty shaky.
Jen Fisher, longtime listener of Real Talk. Thanks for following us over here. What is the most surprising game in week 1? I think we both agree Rams Seahawks. We've said that a couple times. Neither of us seen it playing out like that.
And again, like the Dallas one is shocking that they scored 40 and shut out the Giants. We kind of thought Dallas might be able to win by 3 or 4 touchdowns. It's still, I believe, shocking. But we had this virtually the same scoreline of Rams Seahawks flipped. Like, that's why it's so shocking to me and to Jeff. I could see a few other games having that answer, but for me and Jeff, I think we're lockstep on Seahawks Rams.
You ready for your power rankings?
Yeah, you want me to go first?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, go ahead.
You want me to take it away?
No, go ahead.
All right. Since we've talked so much about every team and it's only been 1 week, I'll go pretty quick.
Yeah.
Number 1, 49ers, partially because it's my Steelers, partially because
you're going top bottom.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I think the suspense is more fun to see because if we start from again, guys, we don't talk about this before the show a whole lot.
Yeah.
But if you start at 12 and work your way up, people kind of dial in who's gonna. Let's go. Yeah, number 1, 49ers. Dominant display, dominant roster. Could be the best team in the NFC. Number 2, Dolphins. I think complete team, and I think they had the best win against an opponent that is better. I think when the Chargers are better than the Steelers, and the Chargers are better than the Giants. However, the Cowboys are 3. Any order, I don't know if I'd accept a different 3 teams in the top 3. Cowboys, 49ers, and Dolphins. Those are my top 3. And number 4, I have the Eagles. 2 new coordinators went to Foxborough, played a really good team with a great head coach on Tom Brady celebration night. I still have them as the 4th best team. Gets a little tricky here. But at 5, I have the Chiefs. They lost, but I felt like they were the better team, and they're getting their 2 best players outside of Patrick Mahomes back. However, at number 6 is the team that did beat them, the Lions. I have the Lions very high in my power rankings before the season. They're 1-0. I have them at number 6. Number 7, I think they'll flip it around in the long haul. They lost to a divisional opponent on the road in a crazy environment. I think a very fluky game by their quarterback. The Buffalo Bills are at number 7. Didn't want to make them fall too far. Number 8, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they'll be in the top 10 the whole season. They looked tremendous, and they're in a pretty bad division. Number 9, a team that I'm high on, so I'm going to put them in the top 10 for sure, is the Green Bay Packers. The way they looked in a divisional spot, the way their quarterback and roster entirely looked, they put up 38 points. They just look tremendous. I like them at number 9. At number 10, I got the Ravens. I think they are one of the best teams in the AFC. They didn't play well, quarterback knocking off some rust, and were still able to win by 14 points. Number 11, I have the Chargers. I still think they're great. I think their coach has some issues, but they lost to a tremendous Dolphins team that is 8-1 in their last games where Tua is the starting quarterback or something close to that. They're ridiculous with Tua. And then at number 12, to round it out, I know Jeff is like, Brad, you're putting the Bengals on here. I got the Cleveland Browns at number 12. In the preseason, I had them with a winning record, and they absolutely demolished a divisional opponent by 3 touchdowns on opening night. I'm going to put the Browns there. So I have 1, 2, 3 teams that lost and 9 that won on the weekend in my top 12.
So one thing we didn't do this year, and I don't know if we've done it in years past, I can't think off the top of my head. We didn't do a preseason power rankings. So really, this is the first time you're hearing our ranking of teams, unless you really started to maybe put them in order based off what we were picking in division. The one thing I wanted to do this week is kind of rank my top 10 of just winners. And then my 11, 12.
Oh,
My 11, 12, I allowed the next 2 teams, whatever it may be. But the top 10 is just winners. If you lost, I didn't allow you in because truthfully, it's week 1. And it's a new season. Like, I'm not giving the Bengals the benefit of the doubt just because I had them in the Super Bowl. They scored 3 points in week 1. It looked horrible. You know what I mean? Like, I was being fair here. I'll start 1 and go backwards as well. You got the Cowboys too low. Cowboys at 1. Cowboys at 1.
That's okay. Like I said, the top 3, I think. Anyway.
Here's why. They blew a team out 40-0, and their offense didn't do anything. That's all you need to know. If their offense was they could have been more. I mean, it was stupid. Niners 2. I had the Steelers as a 9 or 10 win team, and they obliterated them. That's a damn good football team. 3 Dolphins. They were the best team with a best win. Just how they looked, just through the air, come from behind again. Most offensive explosion too, easily. They were the number 1 offensive team of the week. Dolphins at 3. I got the Eagles at 4. Gritty win on the road, coming off a Super Bowl loss. People doubting you. In my opinion, a trip-up game. Patriots could have easily won. They got the W. 5 Ravens. Ravens beating a bad football team, but really did nothing offensively and still won by 2 scores. Lions 6. Super impressive to go on the road at Arrowhead and beat the Super Bowl champs. Less impressive that Travis Kelce didn't play and Chris Jones didn't play. Here's the thing. I normally wouldn't make excuses. The top 100 players came out this summer. The Chiefs had 3 of them: Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones. They only had 1 on Thursday night.
Those are all top 10 players as well.
Top 10 players. Like, come on. So Lions at 6. 7 Jags, only because they would be higher, but just struggling with the Colts. If it was 31-14, I'd probably have the Jags at 4. But struggling with a shitty Colts team, in my opinion, was kind of a turnoff for me for the Jags. 8. I can't believe I had this team at 8. The Packers, obliterating a division rival and looking good doing so. 9. The Browns. Browns beat my Super Bowl team at home and looked great. So Browns at 9. 10. This is the one team that I was struggling with because it didn't fit. Raiders at 10. Way too high. But they were the next team that got a win that I felt deserved to be in this spot. And then my 2 next best teams. So it's basically I'm ranking the rest. I got Chargers 11. They could have very easily came up with a W. I got Chiefs at 12. Could have easily came up with a W had just one of those 2 players played, or if literally just somebody else catches a ball. Chiefs, I don't think are dead in the water, but got them at 12 here. I can't wait to do my power rankings next week when teams are 1-1, 2-0, 0-2. It's going to change things up. But I just felt weird. I'm like, I can't just try and justify the Bengals being in there, even though they couldn't be. You know what I mean? It's just like, it didn't feel right.
I get it.
But that's all I got.
I got nothing.
Well, if you've listened this far, first episode's done. Follow us everywhere you possibly can. We're going to share this on every stinking platform we can. Get this out. This was basically the first stepping stone to trying to get this podcast bigger than it ever could be. So changing the name, getting it out there. Support us every way you can. We love the support. We thank you for the support. Football is back. It was such a great weekend for football. Anything else, Brad?
No, man. I can't wait till week 2. It's a shot to build, shot to reset, shot at redemption. There's a lot on the line here in week 2. You know, they talk about your playoff chances at 0-1. They plummet at 0-2, and they don't exist at 0-3. So, as much as we don't want to overreact to week 1, got to get it together here with some of these teams.
Let's close it out. Thursday night football. Eagles at Vikings.
Yep.
Who you got?
No, sorry. Vikings at Eagles.
Vikings at Eagles. Sorry, on Prime, Amazon Prime. You got Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. Who you got for the game?
Yep. The way Mac looked throwing the ball, I think Kirk Cousins will mirror that. I think there will be a lot of offensive points here on both sides as well. I think the Eagles will be able to take advantage of the Vikings there. I do not think it will be a blowout quite like it was a year ago on Monday Night Football in week 2. But I look for the Eagles to win by somewhere between 6 to 10 points. But I think it's high scoring. I look at something like 34-28 Eagles.
I'm thinking 30-24 Eagles as well.
6-point win by the Eagles.
Yep. I not that I'm down on the Vikings. I like the Eagles a little bit more than them. Which would be crazy that the Vikings would lose 1-score games twice in the first 2 weeks, and they lost 0 last year. But hey, sometimes that happens in football.
Yeah, well, it would kind of be like every other, because 2 years ago they were like 1-7 in 1-score games. Next year they flipped it, so they've been really weird with that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, I think we can get out of here.
Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening. There's a couple of fans, couple of rings, 12 of them to be exact. We appreciate it. Get you next time. We're out.